Sure.
Mr. Speaker, sir, as I listened to the debate, I felt being proud to be an Indian. Sir, this debate has clearly shown that when it comes to safeguarding India's supreme national interest, there are no party differences. There are concerns, there can be worries, but the nation will speak with one voice in defense of its national interest. And that's the message comes out loud and clear. And let me say, I take pride in that, but I also recognize that costs on me a grave responsibility, that I should be worthy of this trust that the House has displayed in the motivation behind this deal. I will take some time to spell out the big picture as I see it, where India is in the world and where we ought to be moving and how we are going to move in that direction. I do recognize, sir, that we live in a world of unequal power. And those who are strong, they always have a tendency to twist arms of others. I recall as a young boy, I once heard General Manmohan Singh, who along with Subhash Chandra Bose was the founder of the INA, in his speech he said in Punjabi, "Dunya mandi zora nu te lakh lanat kamzora." I do recognize that we can realize our destiny only by working hard to become a major pole of the evolving global economy. It's only then that India will acquire that respect and that credibility, that power, which is our legitimate goal. After all, we are a country with great civilizational heritage, a country of 1 billion people, a freedom struggle which should be the envy of every country in the world. But all these wishes can be realized only if India emerges as economically a strong nation. Today, sir, there is a change in the mood of the world towards India. After the experiences of the last 50, 60 years, the world today marvels that there is a country like India, a country of 1 billion people, a country in which you can find all great religions of the people represented in their population mix, a country committed to the rule of law, a country committed to respect for all fundamental human freedoms. And the world recognizes today that there is no country in the world today of India's size, of India's diversity, of India's complexity, seeking its social and economic salvation in the framework of an open society and an open economy. And that's why there is such great interest. Whenever a country emerges, those who are in power, they get worried. But whether you like it or not, I sense today a willingness in the rest of the world to help India to realize its inherent potential. Because India's civilizational heritages, our people have never gone to other countries as conquerors. They have gone as traders, they have gone as preachers, they have gone as men and women of goodwill, and the world respects us for that. And that's what India is about. That's what Jawaharlal Nehru said on the eve of independence when he said, our dreams are for India, but they are not for India alone. They are dreams for the oppressed world as a whole. So, sir, I would respectfully urge this august House to recognize the changed mood of the world towards India. This is not to say that power politics is a thing of the past, that there will never be any attempt to twist our arms. We will protect ourselves to ensure against the risks that are there. But it would be wrong for us not to take advantage of the opportunities that are now in the horizon. I sincerely believe, sir, that it is in the interest of our country to have good relations with all major powers. And I'd make no apology that we seek good relations with the United States. The United States is a preeminent power, but for that matter, in the last 2 years that I have been Prime Minister, we have made big efforts to come closer to Russia, to come closer to the European Union, to come closer to China, to come closer to the Arab world. We had the privilege of welcoming His Majesty, the King of Saudi Arabia, as our honored guest on the Republic Day. And when he went back, what did he say to me? He said, Prime Minister, the world talks about energy shortage. As long as Saudi Arabia is there, you can take care, we will take care of your energy requirements. So, this may be a unipolar word, but we have operated in a manner in which to strengthen our linkages with all big powers, with all our neighbors. We are seeking a new set of relationship with the ASEAN country, and let me say, I also consider our obligation to work hard to normalize, to expand and develop our relations with our neighbors, including Pakistan, Sri Lanka, Nepal, and Bangladesh. And we will remain committed to that vision. And that's our civilizational heritage. That's the reading of our freedom struggle as I understand it. So, the second thing that I do wish to say is, I was born in a village where there was no electricity. I never saw any electricity until I went to study in the neighboring Tahsil Hakwa. Our women in rural homes use wood. They spoil their eyesight in the process. Development will remain a mirage for millions and millions of our people unless we change that picture. In the old days, when one went to the old Soviet Union, there used to be written boldly everywhere, socialism is communes plus electricity. Well, the communes may have disappeared, but the role of electricity in the modernization and expansion of economic and social opportunities for the people is a reality. And therefore, if India's struggle for its economic and social development is to succeed, we need ever increasing amounts of energy. There are two types of influences which are at work today, which determine the demand for energy in our country. First is the normal growth process. As growth takes place, commercial energy demand increases roughly at the same rate, if not more, than the rate of growth of national income. But in our country, there is the other revolution, the modernization of our rural economy, the replacement of non-commercial energy, firewood, and other non-commercial sources of energy by commercial energy. So, history tells us that in the process of development, if our economy is to grow at the rate of 8 to 10%, our demand for commercial energy will probably increase as a minimum at the same rate, probably at more. So questions have been raised whether we need nuclear power. I think Sunil Prabhu knows this area as well as nobody else does. There have been important studies. I am not claiming that nuclear energy is the only way out for meeting the demand for energy in our country. We have important reserves of coal. We must exploit them. But as I look at the demand for energy, our coal reserves would be exhausted in about 45 years. We have sizable amount of hydro resources, but they are in distant areas, and we all know the type of problems that arise when you are making use of the hydro potential, the resettlement costs, the relief operation, and also I think the costs associated with the risks arising out of being in uncertain, unsafe seismic zones. Hydrocarbons, we now know at least that there is an uncertain future for hydrocarbons. There is uncertainty about supplies. There is uncertainty about prices. And if prices of oil increase, and they have increased from less than $30 per barrel 2 years ago to $75, and there are very many people who tell me that probably in a very short period of time, they will probably increase to $100 per barrel. We are short of hydrocarbons. We consume about 110 million tons of oil. We produce only 30 million tons. We have not increased our oil production in the last 10, 15 years. And if in this environment, if India's development is not to be frustrated by the shortage of energy, I think it is incumbent on any government to think of widening its options with regard to the supply of energy. And all the time claiming why we need a nuclear deal is that we must ensure that the development of our country will not be hampered by lack of adequate commercial energy. I am therefore seeking to enlarge our energy mix, the options that are available to our country. We may not utilize those options if what I am saying about future of hydrocarbons do not materialize. But it would be imprudent on the part of the government to not make use of opportunities to widen development options, to widen the energy options. This is the reason why we thought it is necessary to look around if this ambition of ours can be satisfied. We are short of uranium. Our uranium is also relatively high cost compared to the cost of production in the rest of the world. And the available estimates tell me that as of now, we have uranium only for the production of nuclear energy equal to 10,000 megawatts, and that too for a period of only 30 years. And I do believe we must take a long-term view of our future possibilities. If that is the picture, if there are international trading opportunities to increase the availability of uranium for us, if there are opportunities through international trade to promote a mutually beneficial exchange of technologies, that will help India's ambitions to emerge as a major pole of the evolving global economy. That is the vision which inspires us to look for opportunities to remove this nuclear apartheid regime which has stifled the growth of India's nuclear power for the last 3 decades or more. Mr. Speaker, sir, Honorable Kanduriji, quoted me what I said in the other house, that India's nuclear program began with emphasis on nuclear energy. Defense came later. That, I believe, is a correct statement. If you read Panditji's statement, if you read Dr. Bhabha's statements, I think our emphasis by and large has always been on peaceful uses of atomic energy. That's the reason why as early as the 1960s, India championed the cause of comprehensive test ban in the United Nations for us. We remain committed to the vision of Rajiv Gandhi for a nuclear-free world. But it must be said to the vision of Jawaharlal Nehru, of Indira Gandhi, Rajiv Gandhi, that they were idealists, but they also recognized that we live in a very uncertain world. We don't control our environment. And who can today say that they were not wise men and women? In the uncertain world that we live in a world of unequal power, the nuclear weapons are a reality. This country must keep its strategic option open, and that's why India's program for strategic assets, nuclear assets, was a precious heritage which came to this country thanks to the efforts of Jawaharlal Nehru, Indira Gandhi, and Rajiv Gandhi. You have my assurance, sir, that we will do nothing to hurt this national heritage. As long we will work steadfastly for universal nuclear disarmament. But until, I know that day is not going to come tomorrow, day after, hopefully someday it will materialize, but until then, we cannot give up these strategic options. And I assure you, and through you, sir, the House and the country, that there is nothing in this nuclear deal which will hurt the strategic autonomy that this country must have with regard to the management of its nuclear weapons program. Sir, a number of issues have been raised, and I don't think it would be proper for me to go one by one the grounds which I covered in the other house, but some broad concerns which are figured in the debate here, I will take them on board. The first is the autonomy of our foreign policy. I wish to assure you, sir, as I said a few moments ago, this nuclear deal is not a device to be a subservient to any country, whether it is the United States or any other country. We have a proud heritage, a heritage from our freedom struggle. Mahatma Gandhi said once, I want to build in this country a house open on all four sides, so that the winds of change may flow in from each and every direction. But I refuse to be blown off my feet by any one of influence. I must have the courage and the ability to stand on my own feet. That's the motivation, that is the inspiration for our foreign policy. Reference has been made to a particular vote in Iran. We have civilizational ties and links with Iran as we have with the Arab world. We will work hard to strengthen those civilizational and cultural links, give them a new orientation, strengthen our economic links, and the gas pipeline project is a part of that process. we will work to make it a reality. But that particular vote was in the context of one particular thing that we had to determine, and that is the international community asked this question. Iran is a signatory to the NPT. Therefore, our view is it must enjoy all the rights it has as a member of the NPT. It must also honor all the obligations it go with being the member of the NPT. Nothing more, nothing less. Fortunately, things have gone in the direction in which we have said. Right from the beginning, whether in the International Atomic Energy Agency or in the United Nations, we have consistently taken the view that this is not a matter to be resolved by coercive methods. Debate, dialogues, discussion is the answer. And I'm glad, for example, that things are moving in that direction. The Iranian government, for example, have responded constructively to various proposals from P5, and I sincerely hope that this will promote a constructive dialogue among all the interested parties, that the problems relating to Iran's nuclear program can be resolved without exercise of coercive elements of which we do not approve of. For the rest, our record in the last 2 years is an open record. The efforts we have made to promote good relations with China, and I'm very happy. Last year, the Premier Wen came here. This year, we are hoping to welcome the President of China, President Hu Jintao. Prime Minister of Japan, Mr. Koizumi, came here last year. President Putin came here. Our relations with Russia, our relations with China, our relations with Japan, our relations with the European Union and with ASEAN countries have taken a turn for the better. So the House has my assurance that independence of our foreign policy, making it subservient only to our national interest, will be the sole consideration guiding us in pursuit of foreign policy. Sir, a number of questions have been raised with regard to our fast breeder program. The House has my assurance that prototype fast breeders, the program that is underway now, will be totally kept out of the purview of any surveillance by any agency. If in future our program develops and if we produce civilian fast breeders, we will then decide whether to designate them as civilian or military. So long as they are military, there's no question of putting them under any safeguard. So the fast breeder program has my assurance that nothing will be done to impinge on its autonomy. A reference was made about the three-stage nuclear fuel cycle, whether we have given any commitment or is there anything in this deal which will hurt the growth of thorium as a fuel of the future. There is nothing of that sort contemplated. I don't know where this idea came from. I saw this in the Hindu yesterday, but as far as I know, there is nothing in this deal which says that we will give up the three-tier fuel cycle. The program to pursue research in thorium-related technologies will not be compromised. Sir, General Kanduri sir asked me about the veracity of certain statements made by one particular American diplomat. I'm sorry, I'm not able to comment on what he said or what he didn't say. At least they did not confide in me before they went on the television channel. Therefore, I am not able to enlighten him as to what did this particular gentleman mean. But I can assure you, I believe if we stick by the July 18 statement, we have got a very good deal, a deal which I have been told was the ambition of the previous government to negotiate, but which they were not able to negotiate. So the question is, what is our status? Are we going to be regarded as a nuclear weapon state? Let me be very clear, the nuclear weapon state has a particular connotation. And since the NPT cannot be negotiated until the whole treaty can be renegotiated, I think it will be wrong on my part to say that we have been given the status of nuclear weapon state. And that fact was realized in the July 18 statement. It does not talk of India as a nuclear weapon state. It talks of India as a country with advanced nuclear technologies, which should enjoy all the rights and obligations which countries similarly placed enjoy. It will be so because the safeguards agreement that we will sign with the International Atomic Energy Agency will not be the safeguard agreement signed by all other non-nuclear weapon states. It will be a safeguard agreement unique to India because India's position is unique. We do not fall into the category of non-nuclear weapon state. The July 18 statement recognizes clearly and unambiguously that India has a strategic program, India has a military program, and that program is totally out of the purview of any international inspections of one kind or the other. So questions have been raised about particular Please forgive me, sir, I just some.
It should be fine in the reconciliation.
Just he's trying to. No, you can do that, but he's trying to find out a paper. He said, no. Kindly show this much of courtesy. Take it.
The question was asked about the position on moratorium on production of fissile material and what we have agreed to. We have not agreed to any moratorium on the production of fissile material. All that we have agreed to is the same thing which the previous government had agreed to, that we will work to negotiate multilaterally verifiable treaty in this regard. Until that, there is no question of accepting any limits on the production of fissile material. So the question has been raised about the separation and how costly it will be. Figures have been mentioned about $40 billion as the cost of separation. I don't know where I think this cost estimate originates. Doubts have been raised also about our accepting a separation of civil and military nuclear facilities, since nuclear weapon states do not accept such separation and retain the right to withdraw safeguards from their nuclear facilities. In our case, the July 2005 statement acknowledges that India should be regarded as a state with advanced nuclear technology, enjoying the same benefits and advantages as other states with nuclear technology such as the United States. The July statement did not refer to India as a nuclear weapon state, as this has a particular connotation in the NPT. The July statement, however, explicitly acknowledges the existence of India's military nuclear facilities. This meant that India would not attract full-scope safeguards, such as those applied to non-nuclear weapon states that are signatory to the NPT, and there would be no curbs on continuation of India's nuclear weapons-related activities. In these important respects, India would be very much on par with the 5 nuclear weapon states who are signatory to the NPT. The separation plan provides for an India-specific safeguards agreement with the International Atomic Energy Agency. There is no question of a separate agreement in this regard with the United States, with assurances of uninterrupted supply of fuels to reactors, together with India's right to take corrective measures in the event fuel supplies are interrupted. Sir, some honorable members raised this question.
Idea what the cost of separation?
I will come back. As far as I know, we have taken all precautions in working out the separation plan, that whatever costs are there, they are within the realm of practical economics and political calculation. This 40 billion figures is totally, I think, misleading. I don't know what is the basis of that.
What is the estimate?
Well, I cannot divulge, I think, at this stage, but there are no unacceptable additional financial burdens which are being cast on our nuclear program as a result of dividing our program between a civilian and a military program. I do believe it is a good thing for our country, for the future growth of both our civilian program and our military program, that this wall should exist. We have, for example, DRDO, which deals with the missile program. We have the Space Department, which deals with peaceful uses of space program. And I do believe it has created greater cost consciousness, it has created greater sense of accountability, and the same will apply as a result of the 2 programs being kept separate. I am satisfied in so far as I have been told the financial costs of the operation are not, I think, anywhere near the figures which are being mentioned. As of now, this is something which can be taken care of by the normal programs of the Department of Atomic Energy.
What is that? What is the estimate? What is in our view?
क्या बोलते हैं ना? You said that. You have. No, forget about that. No, Mr. Malhotra, what you have raised a question. Honorable Prime Minister said we shall be able to provide for that. Yes.
So, question.
That meeting, all these details cannot be discussed.
Question has been raised about.
Yes, you are right, entitled to. You are entitled.
Questions have been raised about Cyrus and Apsara reactors. This has been raised both in this house, and I think Shri Yashwant Sinha raised it in the other house, as to why Cyrus experimental reactor and the fuel core of the Apsara have been included in the separation plan, and whether this will not result in a decline in the fissile material availability for our strategic program. That's the question. In my statement on March 7, 2006, I had explained the rationale why India had agreed to those provisions in the separation plan. These Cyrus reactors will be permanently shut down in 2010. The fuel core of the Apsara was purchased from France, and we have indicated our willingness to shift it from the present location and make it available for placing under safeguards in 2010. Cyrus and Apsara are located in the Bhabha Atomic Energy Center, and we do not want Bhabha Atomic Energy Center to be subject to any of these safeguards, and that's the reason why. And therefore, we have decided to take these steps rather than allow intrusive inspections of nuclear facilities of high national security importance. I would like to assure the honourable members that these steps do not impact at all on the needs of our strategic program, nor will they hinder ongoing research and development. If and when required, we have the full freedom to build new facilities to cater to our national requirements. Questions have been also raised about the detonation of nuclear tests in the future. Sir, we have made it quite clear to the United States that India is not willing to give any commitment about the future tests. All that we are willing to state, and that is the position which was also stated by the previous government, a unilateral moratorium on nuclear tests. Now the question arises, what happens if we are required, if our national security considerations require us to have a test? Who can contemplate all the possibilities in the future? I think in that case, we will, of course, have the sovereign right to take whatever measures we can to protect our interests. But I cannot expect
Afterwards. Very well, afterwards. Please. Yes, please.
So I have stated the position. We are not willing to have it in the treaty or the agreement that we will sign. We are not in favor of having a bilateral CTBT. I think that position has been unambiguously made clear to the United States. About the American inspectors, I have explained it that all that we will sign with the International Atomic Energy Agency is India's specific safeguards agreement, and there is no question of the American inspectors roaming about our nuclear facilities. Shifting of goalposts, I stated in the other house that no legislature of the foreign countries can bind our countries. The sole consideration for us will be our own perceptions of our national interests. But by the same logic, I cannot prevent the US Congress in its deliberations. Now, if the outcome of these deliberations is a piece of legislation which introduces some extraneous element not envisaged in the July 18 statement, not envisaged in the March separation plan statement, then of course we will draw appropriate conclusions. But I sincerely hope that that stage will not come. I have personally conveyed all our concerns, the concerns which I mentioned in detail in the other house. I could go on explaining them, but I think that will take unduly long time. All these concerns have been raised with the United States government, both at the official level and at my level. President Bush has assured me that it is not his intention to change the goalposts which were agreed to by the joint statement of July 8. The congressional process is still not complete. I cannot predict which way it will go, but if it goes in a direction which hurts us or which introduces extraneous considerations into this matter, we will draw the appropriate conclusion. The House can rest assured that we will do nothing which will compromise the integrity of our strategic plan. There is no scope for capping up of our strategic program. The decision about the future of this our strategic program will be determined by the people, by the government, by this parliament, and no outside power will have any influence in this regard. I believe, sir, I have covered most of the points. With these words, I once again thank the honourable members. I think this debate has been characterized by a common assertion of national will. I thank all the members. I thank Kanduriji, because when members of his party spoke in the other house, they said they disown even the July 18 statement. But when I heard honourable members on the other side, I was encouraged to believe that it is still not too late to work for a broad national consensus. I will work in that direction. It is very important that the whole country should speak with one voice when it comes to a matter as important as is sought to be covered by the nuclear deal.
Prime Minister has given to his country. Does he think that the deal will go through? And if it doesn't go through, what happens?
He has said that if any legislation is passed not acceptable, it will not go through. He has said that.
It will not be acceptable, which will not be acceptable, then what will happen to the deal? We ask this question. I will ask this question.
Yes, one.
Even though official negotiation, even the Prime Minister and even George Bush, the US Congress has modified our agreement. Tomorrow, if they pass the draft law as it is, it will be violation of our 18th July agreement.
He has said that.
To scrap those conditions in future, it will be a big problem for India. If that situation arises, what is the stand of our India?
Yes. He has thrice touched upon that point, yes. You have not listened to carefully.
Sir, we are satisfied to a greater extent.
छोड़िए ना, ये क्या है?
But the only question that is not answered by you is about interchangeability. As interchangeability of our military plants and the nuclear atomic plants, civilian plants. Can there be a shift? Because if we are at par with the NPT, as you had mentioned, the NPT countries have that right to change. Is that a possibility here, or have you thought about it, about the interchangeability? क्या बात है? आपकी बात कर रहे हैं, क्या बात है? We are also supporting this in many ways.
It is quite.
चिल्लाने से क्या होता है?
Let me say, I am not an expert in nuclear matters. I think there is a question mark about interchangeability because we don't have the status of nuclear weapon state. But there is this other feature that we are free to build new reactors, new facilities, whether we wanted to call them civilians or military, that is our prerogative. So India's options are not being limited.
Okay, thank you.